Back in 2009, the trailer for 2012 shook the world. Marketed as the ultimate disaster spectacle, it promised destruction and chaos on a scale no movie had ever dared to show before. And in that sense, it delivered. Skyscrapers crumbled, continents shifted, and humanity fought for survival in jaw-dropping sequences that left audiences stunned. But while 2012 had the potential to be a deep, thought-provoking story about survival and the fragility of our world, the final product leaned heavily into campy humor and bizarre plot choices. Critics were quick to call it a disappointment, yet the sheer scale of its disaster scenes earned it a loyal following. And honestly, if you switch off your brain and just enjoy the ride, it's not a bad movie at all. In this video, we're diving into the fun facts, behind-the-scenes trivia, and legacy of 2012, a film that may not have lived up to its potential, but still carved out a place in disaster movie history. And best believe there are some really intriguing facts and shocking details that will blow your mind. So without further ado, let's dive in. The story in the movie was inspired by the popular myth that a galactic alignment would trigger world-ending disasters on December 21st, 2012, the date of the winter solstice. However, the filmmakers chose not to set the destruction during that time of year. Instead, they moved the event several months earlier to midsummer. The reason for this change was that if the disasters happened in December, the sets would have needed to be decorated to match the time of year. By shifting the timeline to summer, the production team avoided the extra cost and effort of dressing the sets for the winter holidays, keeping the focus on the action and spectacle. The movie was banned in North Korea because the year 2012 held special political importance there, as it marked the 100th anniversary of the birth of Kim Il-sung, the country's founding leader who is still officially revered as the first great leader. The government saw the film's story of worldwide destruction as disrespectful to that anniversary, since it showed the planet collapsing, during a year they wanted to celebrate as a symbol of national pride. As a result, authorities strictly prohibited the film, and when pirated copies began circulating among citizens, several people were arrested for watching it. This shows how tightly North Korea controlled media, and how even a Hollywood disaster movie could be seen as a threat to their political image. There's a small detail when Jackson rents a plane to escape the disasters. Since he doesn't have cash, he offers the pilot his wristwatch as payment. Jackson explains that the watch was a gift from his editor back when he believed Jackson will become successful, and he insists it has real value. The watch itself is a classic Pilot Mark 16, a luxury timepiece known for its aviation-inspired design, and in real life it sells for at least $3,000. The doomsday theory behind 2012 didn't actually come from the ancient Maya themselves, but from modern Western interpretations. The Maya repeatedly said their calendar ending in 2012 did not mean the world would end, and in fact their culture saw time as a renewal. Because the Maya were skilled astronomers, enthusiasts outside their culture connected the date to supposed cosmic events, like the sun lining up with the center of the Milky Way on the winter solstice. A rare occurrence said to happen once every 640,000 years, with the last one falling on December 21st, 2012, the same day the Maya calendar cycle ended. This coincidence fueled modern myths, which were further exaggerated by claims of disasters such as a sudden pole shift, the return of a hidden planet called Planet X, a dark twin star named Nemesis, massive solar flares, or even a new ice age. None of these ideas had any scientific basis. For example, the much-hyped galactic alignment actually happens every December, with its strongest alignment occurring back in the 1990s, which itself sparked doomsday predictions at the time. Since then, the alignments have only grown weaker, showing how the 2012 panic was built more on imagination than reality. The filmmakers included several symbolic references to the biblical story of the Great Flood. Jackson Curtis's son is named Noah, directly recalling Noah from the Bible, who built an ark to save his family and animals from the flood. The cruise ship where Adrian's father Harry performs is called Genesis, the first book of the Bible that contains the flood story, further tying the film to religious themes. Most importantly, humanity's survival in the movie depends on giant ships called arks, echoing Noah's Ark as a vessel of salvation animation. In one scene, animals are even lifted aboard these arks, just like in the biblical tale where pairs of animals were preserved. These details were intentionally woven into the film to highlight the parallels between the ancient flood myth and the modern disaster story, giving the movie a deeper symbolic layer. Director Roland Emmerich originally wanted to include a scene showing the destruction of the Islamic holy site of the Kaaba in Mecca, alongside other famous religious landmarks that were destroyed in the movie, such as the St. Peter's Basilica in Italy and the Christ the Redeemer statue in Brazil, to reinforce his theme of criticizing organized religion through symbolic imagery. However, his co-writer Harold Closer and the film's producers strongly advised against it, warning that such a depiction could provoke a fatwa and cause deep offense to Muslims worldwide. Emmerich later confirmed in interviews that he abandoned the idea for those reasons, acknowledging the potential backlash and controversy it would have created. The eccentric conspiracy theorist Charlie Frost appears to be loosely inspired by two real volcanologists, David Johnston and Harry Glicken. Johnston tragically lost his life during the 1980 eruption of Mount St. Helens, but not before sending out a final radio warning, which alerted others to the disaster as it unfolded. Glicken, another volcanologist, was killed in 1991, along with his colleagues Katya and Maurice Kraft, by a pyroclastic flow on Mount Unzen in Japan. Despite being brilliant and producing very detailed research on Mount St. Helens, Glicken was known for being eccentric and disorganized, which led the U.S. Geological Survey to only give him temporary positions. Charlie Frost's mix of passionate warnings, odd behavior, and tragic fate echoes elements of both men's lives, blending real scientific history into the fictional character. John Cusack improvised one of his lines during a scene where his character comments on the California governor, who is portrayed as a caricature of Arnold Schwarzenegger. Instead of using the original scripted line, "The governor's a meathead. How could he know anything? You gotta trust me over some politician," Cusack ad-libbed the softer remark,
"The guy's an actor, he's reading a script!"
The change was made because some felt the original wording would come across as too harsh or insulting toward Schwarzenegger, who was both a well-known actor and the real governor of California at the time. Cusack's improvised version kept the joke playful and still poked fun at the governor's Hollywood background, but without being overly critical. In one scene, Charlie Frost shows an animated video explaining his theory about the end of the world, and this sequence is a clear nod to the popular internet meme, "The End of Z World." That viral animation, which spread widely online in the early 2000s, humorously suggested that humanity's own reckless actions, like wars and nuclear weapons, would wipe us out long before any natural disaster could. The film's reference works as both a parody and a cultural callback, since Charlie's cartoon-style explanation mirrors the meme's exaggerated tone and dark humor. By including this, the filmmakers tied the movie's doomsday theme to a piece of internet culture that audiences at the time would recognize, blending real-world satire with the fictional chaos of the story. The massive Russian plane used by the characters to escape was actually the Antonov AN-225 Maria, the largest cargo aircraft ever built. In the film, however, it was incorrectly labeled as an Antonov 500, a fictional designation since no such plane exists. Additionally, the AN-225 was not Russian at all. It was designed and built in Ukraine. This legendary plane, however, tragically no longer exists today, as it was destroyed in 2022 during the Battle of Antonov Airport in the early stages of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. The song that Harry and Tony sang on the cruise ship, "It Ain't the End of the World," wasn't just a random choice. The song was actually co-written and performed by Blue Mankuma and George Segal themselves, both of whom were not only actors but also skilled musicians. Their involvement gave the scene an authentic touch, blending their musical talent with their acting roles. The main character's name, Jackson Curtis, is actually a clever reversal of rapper 50 Cent's real name, Curtis Jackson. Director Roland Emmerich is a big fan of 50 Cent and wanted to pay tribute to him by naming the film's lead character in this way. By flipping the order of the rapper's name, Emmerich created a subtle Easter egg that most viewers wouldn't notice, but it shows how personal interests and pop culture admiration can sneak into big Hollywood productions, giving the character's name a hidden connection to the music world. Additionally, the fictional US president is named Thomas Wilson, and his name is a direct nod to real history. His first and last names are the same as Woodrow Wilson, who was the 28th president of the United States from 1913 to 1921. This is another Easter egg that links the movie's leader during a global crisis to an actual past president known for guiding the country through World War I. Furthermore, Roland Emmerich told MTV in an interview that the cover-up name for his film was Farewell Atlantis, which is the same title of Curtis's book in the movie. There's a clever homage hidden in the scene where Jackson races his limousine through collapsing Los Angeles streets on the way to the airport. As the car speeds down a road with a petrol station on the right and an elevated freeway on the left, it heads straight toward a 10-story beige office building that crumbles in front of them. That building was modeled after the real Wilshire Colonnade in Los Angeles. The choice wasn't random, though. This same building had already been used decades earlier in the 1974 disaster film Earthquake, where it appeared as the fictional Wilson Plaza and also collapsed during the chaos. By recreating its destruction in 2012, the filmmakers intentionally paid tribute to the earlier classic, linking two generations of disaster movies through a shared visual callback. The role of Jackson Curtis was originally offered to Gerard Butler, but he had to decline because of scheduling conflicts that prevented him from committing to the project. Interestingly, Butler would later go on to headline his own two disaster movies, Geostorm in 2017 and Greenland in 2020, with a sequel to Greenland coming in 2026. The filmmakers originally planned for Harry Helmsley to survive the disaster. In this version, Harry would have called his son Adrian to let him know he and Tony were alive and safe after the tsunami only ran their cruise ship aground instead of sinking it. Another deleted moment showed Adrian finally losing patience with Carl Anheuser, whose cold and calculating attitude had caused tension throughout the story. Adrian knocks him down, showing his frustration and moral stand against Anheuser's ruthless reasoning. Both of these scenes were filmed, but ultimately cut from the theatrical release, and they were later included as bonus material on the Blu-ray edition, giving fans a glimpse of alternate character outcomes and dynamics that didn't make it into the final movie. And that brings us to the end of this deep dive into 2012. This movie is packed with wild set pieces, clever callbacks, and behind-the-scenes details that make it way more interesting than people remember. So, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of our upcoming fun facts videos and movie deep dives. And share this video with your friends so they can also enjoy learning more about this memorable disaster flick. Until next time, thanks for watching, stay sharp, and we'll see you in the next one.